this is that most banned classic cards are spells and traps. Fact is, most early monsters were not really that good. Save for specific cases, old school monsters don't see any sort of play nowadays because they simply weren't as good as their back row counterparts. While we've still seen topping deck lists running Foolish Burial, Imperial Order, and Change of Heart, we don't really see anyone summoning Gravekeeper Sky or Card Trooper. The cards we're going to be looking at today are the exceptions to this, either seeing play beyond their time, or completely upheaving the format they were played in. And starting off, we have one of the most well-known anime monsters to actually be played, Jinzo. This level 6 Dark Machine monster with 2400 attack and 1500 defense has a basic effect emblematic of its era that it comes from, simply preventing the activation of trap cards and their effects, as well as negating their effects on the field, which is a basic but greatly effective ability. Released all the way back in 2002's Feral Servant, this had continued to expand into the new card type introduced in Spell Ruler, Continuous Spells and Traps. Most of these early continuous cards were either bad or completely busted floodgates. That is to say, for every insect barrier and the regulation of tribe, there's Gravity Bind and Imperial Order. This set introduced a wide range of extremely powerful trap cards that needed a silver bullet to be kept in check. Cards like Call the Haunted, Mirror Wall, Ceasefire, and the aforementioned Imperial Order were somewhat kept in check by the machine menace that was Jinzo. Limited on release, this card was immediately a staple in most decks, also being the namesake of the early 2003 format known as Android, which is Jinzo's OCG name. Early Yu-Gi-Oh! Was dominated by powerful traps like Mirror Force, Ring of Destruction, and Sakuretsu Armor, and Jinzo was the one card which could keep them at bay. But Jinzo wasn't just an effect. We also need to mention how well statted it was for its time. When Jinzo came out, tributing a level 6 monster with similar stats would mean bringing out something like Amphibian Beast or Judgeman, only being outclassed by Summon Skull, which has 100 more attack. But the time of normal summons was quickly being left in the past, and we were getting more and more monsters with powerful abilities, which greatly reduced the alternatives we had at the time. Before the Monarchs came out, if you wanted to tribute summon a monster with an effect, you'd be stuck bringing out something like Dragon Seeker or Lava Battle Guard. So yeah, there wasn't much competition. And it seems like Konami realized the power of Jinzo, since when they released its counterpart Spell Canceller, they greatly toned down its stats, bringing it much more in line with what's expected for a level 5 monster at the time. But it's hard to state just how much Jinzo has come in and out of the format throughout the years. Obviously, it was a mainstay for Monarch decks that were omnipresent until the game really began to speed up with the Dragon Ruler's release. But it's also seen play way beyond that, being played in the 2016 build of Monarchs featuring all their new support, as well as in several combo builds during the Saryuja Scoldred era, where it was a very playable side deck card, since you were able to draw both it and summon it using the aforementioned Saryuja. All of this makes Jinzo one of the best classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters. Hello, I'm a Ghost Who Exists to Sell product. But wait, before you click off, be sure to enter the giveaway by just leaving any kind of comments down below. You see, the mystery boxes on our merch store sell very well. However, a little too well, to the point where people don't really buy anything else. So I created a new limited time TCG bundle, which is only available now through the end of October, where you get 2 packs of sleeves, 1 deck box, and 1 metal field center, all for only around $20. That's less than the price of the deck box and the field center for the merch store on their own. And you get 100 card sleeves to go along with it. If you're new to any TCG, this is the perfect way to store your cards. There is also a bundle for the leather box instead of the plastic one, which is also at a very similar discount. And as for the giveaway, I'll be giving away 2 of the bundles, 1 mini and 1 elite bundle. All you do to enter is just comment down below, and preferably with which card packs you want if you get chosen. You only have 2 days to enter after the time of this video's upload, so be sure to check the date in the video description to see if it's still going on. I'll reply to the winner's comment asking for the best way to reach out to them to give them their prizes once I pick the winners. It seems like early machine monsters were all the rage because for our number 9 spot, we have the format breaking machine, which was Cyberstein. This level 2 machine with just 700 attack has a shockingly explosive effect for its time. At the low cost of paying 5,000 life points, you can summon 1 fusion monster from your deck in attack position. Simple and to the point. What could possibly go wrong? Turns out, a lot. You probably know this card from the Cyberstein OTK deck from the late 2006, where it was used in tandem with Megamorph to summon Cyber Twin Dragon or Cyber End Dragon to attack for insane amounts of damage, ending the duel in one fell swoop. However, Cyberstein is in a weird spot regarding format legality. You see, while it was an easily accessible card in the OCG, it was a Shonen Jump Championship prize card for us in the TCG, making it extremely expensive and limited in quantity. This meant that the few cyber signs there were being passed around by the very close teams that populated the Yu-Gi-Oh landscape at the time. However, after a reprint as a rare, the card became widely available, but not really capable of being played in most strategies. Where the card really found a place was in Monarch decks, where it could be easily brought out using Last Will after summoning a Monarch, giving you another big body in the form of a strong fusion to close out the game. These two combos eventually proved too powerful and landed the card a good spot on the Forbidden List, where it would stay banned until January of 2019, where it came back to 1. At first, the card did not do much, just being played in janky Orcus decks where it could be accessed because of it being a dark machine. It also made an appearance in an extremely greedy FTK decks that changed type to Psychic with Reaperdocus and then equipped with Telekinetic Charging Cell, allowing you to ignore its life point cost. But this combo never really achieved nothing more than looking cool on a replay video. When the card actually became a problem, it was with the advent of Tearlaments and Sprite. In case you haven't noticed, Cyberstein is a level 2 monster, meaning you could either mill it through your Shizu cards, or send it straight to the graveyard with Sprite Sprint, to then bring it back using Sprite Health, giving you access to either an additional Tearlament fusion like Tearlament Ruculus, or even an Omni Negate in the form of Nature Exterio, although this last card was a lot less common. It was then played in super heavy Samurai decks because of its machine typing, as well as other decks. In the end, while still being limited, the card was much more accessible than originally intended, creating a very one-sided play experience, and the card got the ban hammer one last time. An effect this powerful could only be printed in classic cards like this, when they were still figuring out what was allowed and not allowed in the game, landing at a solid number 9 spot on our list. For our number 8 spot, we find the Master of One and the most popular monster types in the game, Zombie Master. This level 4 Dark Zombie with 1800 attack has a very simple but versatile effect, allowing you to summon back any level 4 or lower zombie monster by discarding a monster. This card by itself gave rise to proper zombie decks. In the short period before Synchros came out, this deck was a menace, taking the first place spot in the 2007 SJC Durham. This deck made use of the very strong zombie cards that didn't quite find a consistent home before, like Pyramid Turtle, Ryukoki, Book of Life, and Illblood. Zombie Master gave these cards a home thanks to finally having a centerpiece to focus the deck around. But that wasn't all. While short-lived as Synchro Monsters released shortly after, the late 2007 Zombie deck was the one deck to really exploit Card of Safe Return. While probably not really worthy to be banned in 2024 Yu-Gi-Oh!, main decking 3 of the card, coupled with Zombie Master capable of bringing back a myriad of zombies, was crazy. This gave rise to a very short-lived but very well-loved format known as Zombie Format of 2007. Not just that, but with the release of Synchro Monsters, Zombie Master gained a second win that made the card a mainstay of Dark Armed Dragon and other decks looking to make use of its powerful recursive ability, which, fun fact, doesn't need to reborn a zombie from your own graveyard. You could just as easily steal your opponent's. But yeah, turns out being able to bring back a bunch of low-level zombies to turn into stuff like Doomkaiser Dragon and Dark Armed Dragon is pretty good. Who would have guessed? With time, the card saw less and less play, but remained an important piece of later Lightsworn brews using Mizuki, and even made appearances in zombie Lightsworn decks that made use of that Grasslip screener, which really benefited from the access to rank 4s, which Zombie Master provided. All in all, Zombie Master is a very iconic card that a lot of players hold close to their hearts, earning it a spot on today's list. And flying into number 7, we find Elemental Hero Stratos. Does this guy even need an introduction? A level 4 Wind Warrior with 1800 attack, it can, on summon, either search for a hero monster, or destroy spells and traps on the field up to the number of other hero monsters you control. Simple, strong, and emblematic. That's what Stratos is. Ever since its release as a Shonen Jump promo card, it's been one of the game's most well-known monsters. From the moment it was released, the card gave rise to the Diamond Dude Turbo deck, sometimes called Airblade, after Stratos' OCG name being Airman and using Divine Sword Phoenix Blade. This was the first actual hero deck, making use of the aforementioned Destiny Hero Diamond Dude to play powerful spells like Magical Stone Excavation or Destiny Draw without paying their activation costs. Not just that, the deck had access to some of the craziest cards of its time, like Heavy Storm, Dimensional Fusion, and even Emergency Call. This mash of crazy powerful spells all was enabled thanks to Stratos' ability to grant the deck unparalleled consistency. But the card didn't rest after this deck. Far from it. While limited shortly after its release, Stratos did anything but fall off. The most immediate deck that housed Airman was Dad DDT, that is, Dark Armed Dragon variants of Diamond Dude Turbo decks. The consistency provided by the hero engine really helped summoning Dark Armed Dragon, filling the graveyard and also allowing you to get back your banished dark monsters with Dimension Fusion, which could be found much easier thanks to Destiny Hero Diamond Dude. as well as having access to Destiny Hero Plasma as an almost auto win button. All of this facilitated by the insane consistency tool that is Stratos. But when Darkground Dragon left, Stratos did not. Edison format has given the card a lot more attention than its time did. Some of the most powerful decks of the format feature our beloved Stratos, Diva Hero, and Hero Frog. And beyond this, Stratos was an auto-include in the Hero Beat / Bubble Beat decks of the early 2010s. A deck that sought to overwhelm your opponent by using level 4 monsters with massive bodies. The main one being Elemental Hero Neos Alias, which could be coupled with the extremely powerful Gemini Spark to allow for removal on top of having a large body. But it would be shortly after, in late 2013, when Stratos would finally get the bullet and be banned for a very long time. This banning was met with disdain from the entire community, as Hero Beat was seen as the easily accessible deck in a format filled with overwhelming decks like Dragon Rulers and Spellbooks. Still, it wouldn't be until 2018 when Stratos finally came back to widespread celebration. Sadly, the Hero deck was a bit rusty by then, not really capable of achieving much.
The heck's going on with Nyx? Let's just go straight into ranked, why not?
The new red ribbon chocolate.
Not really capable of achieving much. But, well, Hero wouldn't be the archetype with the most support for nothing, as it kept on getting new cards that managed to push it to rogue relevancy sporadically since around 2020. All of them obviously featuring Elemental Hero Stratos. One of those beloved cards in the TCG, Stratos earns a solid spot on this list thanks to its versatility and facilitating pretty much every hero variant you could imagine. And at number 6, we have another card emblematic of its era, Light and Darkness Dragon. How does an Omni-Negate sound like in 2007? Pretty good, right? Well, what about 4 in this same card? Light and Darkness Dragon is the level 8 light dragon that cannot be special summoned and treats itself as both light and dark while on the field. Most importantly, as a once per chain, not once per turn, you must negate and destroy any spell, trap, or monster effect that is activated at the cost of losing 500 attack and defense. Then, when it is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you special back any monster from your graveyard at the cost of destroying all cards you control. Now, the only thing keeping this card from being the best card in the game is all the restrictions it has. Firstly, you must normal summon it. No summoning from the grave with Guard Dragon Pitsy or with its own effects. Secondly, both its activated effects are mandatory. That means you must negate whatever effect is activated, be it yours or your opponent's. And you must destroy all your cards when Light and Darkness Dragon is destroyed. Even with all these limitations, the card managed to amass dozens and dozens of tops, being the boss monster of several decks. Just when the card was released, it gave rise to one of the most well-known meta decks in the community, Perfect Circle. This deck featured a hero engine that gave you extreme consistency, and would eventually see the fate of the engine's most emblematic card, Destiny Hero Disc Commander. Summoning it back with Destiny Hero Fearmonger was the deck's main play, allowing you to tribute for Light and Darkness Dragon using the Disc Commander, and a Destiny Hero Malicious or one of the other deck's ways of getting fodder into the board. If you did, you essentially just won the game. You had a big body that would negate any plays done by your opponent, and would get you discommander
Cool.
back when they outed Lad, and that would accumulate resources for your opponent. Even as this deck fell to the wayside, Light and Darkness Dragon has found itself in a myriad of strategies throughout the years. Be it in Dark Arm Dragon decks, like the mini cards of its time, in the first place Quick Draw Dandy Warrior list that took SJC Edison, or as probably the best thing to summon in any and all versions of the Frog Monarch deck. It doesn't really matter what deck you played in, Light and Darkness Dragon is an amazing flavor, ties to the Jinx manga, and is a lot of players' favorite for good reason. Seldom do we see cards this powerful, much less as early as 2007, and it shows. Probably the most unassuming card on this list, at number 5, we have Treeborn Frog. This level 1 Aqua with defense features one of the most useful abilities in the game. As a once per turn effect during your standby phase, while you control no monsters named Treeborn Frog and no spells or traps, Treeborn Frog will summon itself from the graveyard. Now, this seems good, but it's hard to understand just exactly how good it is. Released all the way back in 2006 Shadow Infinity, Froglet managed to revive itself into pretty much every topping deck for years. Immediately upon release, this card gave birth to the deck that would best exploit its revival ability, Frog Monarch. The Monarch series of monsters were playable generic cards that saw some relevance in different decks, but never as a strategy of their own. That would change with the advent of Frog Monarch, a deck that would continue to be relevant for ages, only really dropping out of the meta all the way in 2014. And it's hard to understate just how relevant and powerful this deck was. While the first Monarchs the deck had access to were a bit underwhelming, they still were powerhouses for their time. Being able to drop a Mobius the Frost Monarch, a Zaborg the Thunder Monarch every single turn was just absolutely insane in a format where normal summon Kyo the Ghost Destroyer was considered strong. Filled with generic warrior engines to tie everything together, Frog Monarch started with a bang, but hadn't yet become the best it would. As it would be expected, Treeborn Frog quickly earned a spot on the limited list just a month after its release, but that certainly did not stop the deck from dominating the metagame. The deck shortly mutated into a Chaos deck, making use of the well-known power of Chaos Sorcerer and Magician of Faith. It also incorporated Cyberstein, like we mentioned previously in this video, thanks to the Monarch's powerful synergy with Last Will. And with time, the versatility of the Monarchs allowed the deck to become what it was. Need to remove cards from your opponent's hand? Just pop in Castalos the Firestar Monarch. Right in my back row, just add in Grandmark the Rock Monarch. Fact is, the engine was so good, even non-Monarch decks were side decking it. But Monarchs were an archetype, and archetypes get support. Rise of the Storm Monarch was a massive boon for the deck, allowing actually good and generic spot removal, and also permitting the engine to be played in a lot of different decks, be it Damage Turbo or Machine Brews using Cyber Phoenix. But the card really became a menace when Kaios the Shadow Monarch released in 2008. It's hard to understate just how much of an impact this card made. But it wasn't all Monarchs. Oh no,
This kinda sucks.
You see, Konami decided to print Substitute, and then an FTK won the World Championship, featuring the new semi-limited Treeborn Frog as a recursive frog to tribute with Substitute. Even after the deck's banning, Treeborn Frog continued to be relevant for a while, being an important part of the very underrated Frog deck making use of ceilings. So yeah, it's safe to say the card earned a spot on this list. If there's a card that just seems broken upon first reading, that has to be our number 4 spot, Makura the Destructor. This level 4 Dark Warrior was released in 2004, and for just 5 months made sure to be a pain in the butt for all Yu-Gi-Oh players. To put it simply, Makura resolving spelled the end of the game. One of the first combos that made the card busted was with one of the weirdest cards to be in the ban list, Dark Scorpion, Chick the Yellow. The combo was pretty simple. You just need to have Chick in the graveyard, Makura's effect apply that turn, and Call of the Haunted in your hand. And this would win you the game. It went like this. You activate Call of the Haunted to summon back Chick the Yellow, then attack with him, deal damage, and return your own Call of the Haunted to your hand, sending Chick to the graveyard. You then activate Call of the Haunted directly from your hand during the same battle phase, summon Chick the Yellow back, attack, return Call of the Haunted, and keep doing this until your opponent could no longer play the game because you dealt infinite damage. Now, this is kind of underwhelming, honestly. When you think about Makura the Structure, you think about one of 2 combos. Either activating cards like Jar of Greed, Legacy Madagarasa, and Miraculous Greed to draw through your entire deck, solve it, or much scarier, you activated Exchange of the Spirit. Pretty mind-numbing, obviously. You do essentially the same thing you would do with Exodia combo. Cover your way through your deck, fill up your graveyard, and then use Exchange of Spirit to swap decks and graveyards, making your opponent's deck become 0 cards, and winning the game by just passing turn. Now, you have to keep in mind that while both Makura the Destructor and Exchange of the Spirit are currently legal, this combo is no longer possible. This is because these cards were unbanned.
Why did my cards flip? That's never happened before.
Cards, and for good reason. Since if Mercure Destructor was legal in the current format, the game would be played by insane trap combo decks that give you access to anything you could ever want, most often winning in the first turn. And this is why Mercure destroys its way to this top 10. First in the top 3 is another card that received an errata, Dark Magician of Chaos. This level 8 spellcaster with a beefy 2800 attack body has an honestly insane effect for its time. For starters, it banishes any monster it destroys by battle, but most importantly, when it's summoned, you can return any spell card from your graveyard to your hand. And to balance all this, Dark Magician of Chaos would be banished when it leaves the field.
How come I didn't get to see my opponent's extra deck?
The best card type was by far Spell. Just in GOAT format,
stupid master rule fucking 3 or whenever they implemented this change regarding public information.
Being able to essentially double any spell you play while also a large body out of the exchange was unheard of at the time. Graveyard Recursion was greatly limited in this time period. The most powerful card with that effect...
They could have just gone for lethal. I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Dark Magician of Chaos simply skipped a basic rule of the game, allowing you to reuse spells that have already been spent, and sort of ignoring the ban list for limited cards like Premature Burial, one of the cards that best worked with this spellcaster. While it was played in several decks during the GOAT format era of the game, the one that made better use of it was Reasoning Gate, a deck using both Reasoning and Monster Gate to get out Sacred Crane for draws, which exploited Dark Magician of Chaos for recouping those 2 powerful spells that you could build your graveyard with more spells, also getting you a free monster. But let's not forget his first effect, banishing whatever it destroys in battle. Early Yu-Gi-Oh! Is filled with recruiters, a series of monsters that special summon a monster of their own attribute when destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard. Cards like Mystic Tomato and Giant Rat, which are otherwise powerful staples of the format, become useless in the face of Dark Magician of Chaos, hitting them for 1400 damage and preventing their powerful consistency effects from triggering. While the card was still powerful, it took a little bit to find a home after GOAT format came and went. But Diamond Dude Turbo knew how to really milk this classic card. We already covered this deck before in this video, so just picture the following. You activate the effect of Just Nero Diamond Dude, excavating Graceful Charity, and send it to the graveyard. Then you activate Monster Gate, tributing Diamond Dude, and summon Dark Magician of Chaos, and use its effect to add back Graceful Charity. You activate Graceful Charity. Next turn, you activate Graceful Charity again off of Diamond Dude's effect. Yeah, kinda crazy, huh? And this wasn't even the reason it got banned. Dark Arm Dragon took a lot of cards with it, and Dark Magician of Chaos was one of them. So in late 2008, it became banned for a long time. It eventually was unlimited in April 2016, following an errata limiting the adding back of the spells to the end phase of the turn it was summoned.
Yeah, you can't just Runic isn't an archetype. You can just splash in.
That a card as strong as Dark Magician of Chaos was
it has to be a main strategy, not a side strategy.
A solid spot on our list. And at number 2 is the only fusion monster on this list, Gladiator Beast Gyzaris. Barely making the cut for what qualifies as classic Yu-Gi-Oh!, Gyzaris
really struggles with going second.
What
the heck.
Before this point, the extra deck was essentially irrelevant. Sure, you could use it in GOAT format when Metamorphosis was relevant, and also whenever Cyberstein was played, but you never actually did a fusion summon. This is in good part due to the fact that early fusion monsters were kind of irredeemably bad. Don't try to gaslight yourself. You are not activating polymerization to use Tainted Wisdom and Ancient Brain into a Skull Knight. Gyzaris and the Gladiator Beast radically changed his perception that the fusion monsters were playable. As a level 6 with 2400 attack, Gladiator Beast Gyzaris crashed with all monarchs and easily cleared most monsters that were played at the time. But you were absolutely not clearing monsters by attacking with him. Oh no, for when Gyzaris is special summoned, it targets 2 cards on the field and destroys them. This is crazy good in a monster as easy to bring out as this one, simply requiring you to shuffle back Gladiator Beast Vistari as well as one other Gladiator Beast monster in order to contact fuse it from your extra deck. On top of that, it also has a beefed up version of the Gladiator Beast effect, shuffling back itself into the deck after battling to bring out 2 Gladiator Beast of Vistari to prevent silly loops. While Gladiator Beast was technically an archetype before this card's release, it failed to achieve anything until this pure advantage Beast release. Easily accessible at pretty much any point, Gyzaris catapulted this archetype into what some pro players consider to be the actual first Tier 0 deck in the game, and it would stay in the top tables at events for a good while at that. Released together with TCG exclusive card Test Tiger, Gyzaris rose from the ashes of the Dark Arm Dragon format to take over the metagame with an iron fist, taking up 6 of the top 8 cut slots in SJC St. Louis 2008. Gladiator Beast quickly became the deck to beat, a deck that required players to get answers specifically dedicated to beating the matchup. One of the most flagrant examples was Monarch players elected to play Prime Material Dragon to counter both Gladiator Beast Vermilio as well as Gladiator Beast Gyzarus. But yeah, Gyzarus made Gladiator Beast one of the most relevant decks in the game's history,
search itself?
taking top after top for years until the release of
usually the
X
strategy
monsters,
for
when the deck
Drytron,
really
I've
slowed
heard.
down and became irrelevant since the
But well,
release of Dragon Rulers.
they used
While
two
the deck
fucking
has
preparation
received
rights.
extremely powerful
Pretty
support
sure they
in the
have
form
all
of
of
Gladiator
the.
Beast Tamer
Wait,
Editor and
Arcana
Gladiator Beast
Force.
Dominatus, none of them compare to the sheer impact Gladiator Beast Gyzarus had for both the archetype as well as the game as a whole. Now, before we get to our number 1 spot, we have a few honorable mentions to go through, which are only honorable mentions because we talked about them too much in other videos on this channel. First off, there's Magical Scientist. Sure, it's really strong, but you probably already know why it's good by now. Being one of the best levels of the game, and including an effect that allows you to cheat a basic game mechanic, summoning in order to get a massive advantage, or to end the game on the first turn with a card like Cannibal Turtle. Secondly, there's Dark Arm Dragon. We've mentioned this deck for the whole video, and for good reason. This card spelled one of the most divisive
level 1 is
kind
kind of, unironically, the strongest fucking level to
punched
be.
through the ceiling what was considered a good monster in 2008, and rose to the heights that would take a long, long time to be reached again. Coupled with Return for the New Dimension, the Hero Engine, and Emergency Teleport with Trebons, both Dad Return and Teledad completely dominated the end of the Fusion era, and even the start of the Synchro era with their versatility and sheer strength of Dark Arm Dragon. And last but not least, the pretty obvious call, Chaos Emperor Dragon and Void of the End. Everyone knows the dude by now. Banish a light and dark, literally everything, then just keep your opponent from playing with Yagarasu if you haven't won yet. Invasion of Chaos brought with it a series of monsters that would define card design for the rest of the game, and Chaos Emperor Dragon is by far the most explosive of them, being strong enough to force the first banning in the game's history. But if we're talking about Chaos monsters, one of them still takes the crown.
The Joker kinda sucks, doesn't it?
Talked about for being mentioned.
It's no wonder a lot of people don't like playing with it. It's literally the max C of any standard playing card.
Game, which heralded one of the most significant changes in the game's history, Blackluster Soldier and Void of the Beginning.
Baloney.
This level 8 warrior with 3000 attack was so far beyond anything else released previously that it's supposed as one of the biggest jumps in power creep the game has ever experienced. Unable to be normal summoned, it can spell summon itself by banishing a light and dark
the
monster.
The combo still keeps going.
Board, you can do one of two things. Either banish one monster on the field in exchange for not being able to attack that turn, or attack a second time if it destroys a monster by battle. This was monumental. The release of Invasion of Chaos, and more specifically Blackluster Soldier and Void of the Beginning, was akin to dropping a nuclear bomb in the middle of cavemen fighting wolves. It's really strong, obviously, but you're not really using it to its full potential yet. While players are quick to justify the impact that Invasion of Chaos had through Chaos Emperor Dragon and Void of the End, it's no blasphemy to say that Blackluster Soldier and Void of the Beginning was the better of the two in the long run, and probably also on release. After the short stint of playability its draconic counterpart had, BLS quickly became a mainstay in the format for the following decade. An obvious included early Chaos decks, the card was the boss monster not just of its own deck, but of the game as a whole. Nothing even comes close to the finality it represented. A free summon that could either permanently remove a monster, or go for a quick game sprint. It was simply insane. These early builds struggled from the lack of good light monsters, but found massive success nonetheless. Chaos decks completely dominated 2005, finally having access to a good generic light monster in Cyber Dragon, and ruled the game until the card's eventual banning in October of 2005. It wouldn't be until September 2011 when Konami decided it was time to banish a light and dark again. Blackluster Soldier and Void of the Beginning came back in a very different game than the one you last saw the last time it was legal. Reborn Tengu was the name of the game, and the game was synchro summoning. But the more things changed, the more they stayed the same. Even 6 years after being banned in a Sea of Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, and number 39 Utopia, a free that could out monsters or attack for a game was extremely valuable. At first, the card was simply slotted into existing Tengu lists, but soon found a home in a dedicated Chaos Shell, making use of effect
God damn it, this deck is not meant for going first.
Getting lights and darks to the grave was never easier, and Chaos monsters gained the upper hand thanks to this. Not just that, but the release of the Agent Structure deck gave a new hope to the Soldier, now together in a deck with another iconic monster, Master Hyperion. With time, the format changed, but BLS remained a staple in most decks. Even Dino Rabbit was main decknet for its sheer power and ability to easily out Evilsaur Logia and wind up Zenmates. But when the card really started to gain speed was when the Chaos Dragon deck started to become a thing.
Do they have Ghost Ogre or some bullshit? What is this?
Something like Pulsar Dragon or Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, making for one of the most fun decks of the time. the card would find a different role a couple of years later in the wings of another 7-power creep, released of Duelist Alliance and Shadow with it. This dark-centric deck had no problem
Are they
setting
on
Chaos
bluff
Blaze,
mode?
El Shadow Construct, and Shadow Fusion, enabling both Blackluster Soldier and Void of the End, as well as White Dragon Wavering Burster and Black Dragon Collapser. Heck, even Burning Abyss stacks remained dead in the card because of how good it was in that format, able to be an out to the aforementioned construct much more easily than the deck would usually have access to. It would continue to dominate the game in Shadow Brews, until being overtaken by the Pantheon's build of Burning Abyss, and after that falling out of favor. While still played in both Thunder Dragon and Burning Abyss all the way until January 2019, the card popularity after that, not being able to reach another top cut since then. But as bittersweet as it is seeing the card disappear from the metagame, I think Blackluster Soldier and With the Beginning has a well-deserved rest after 15 years of being the largest recommended summon for its cost. And that's why it solidly earns its spot as the best monster from Classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Alright, well that's it for this list. A lot of classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters are really not that great, but these 10 remind how powerful some cards can be, both in time and much later. Do you think we missed any other really important cards? Or have any ideas for future videos just like this one? So let us know down in the comments below.
Alright, so our only hope here is Blazing Mirror Force doesn't get destroyed. And then when they go for game with Arcana Force and Drytron, that I can at least stall out for one more game. Turn. Well, I mean, she already fulfilled her duty. Voiceless voice as well! I see we're running all of the ritual engines here. So Sauravis can just negate Snatch Steal. In fact, they can negate Blazing Mirrors. Yeah, no, I'm not winning. Here comes Meteonis. There isn't even a need for... I mean, I need to try. Huh. They can't... oh, because fucking Voiceless Voice wasn't on the field, they couldn't do their negate. Wacky. cool. I mean, for what it's worth, let's fucking. The mirror forces aren't gonna do much, but like, I don't really have anything else. What happened to Arcana Force, man? I remember in World Championship 2011 for the DS, they had all the way until Wheel of Fortune, I believe, Arcana Force 11. Like, they are all incredibly disappointing. The field spell support is pretty much carrying the entirety. And of course, the world and whatever other Arcana Force they came up with. Not running any hand traps is kind of the biggest weakness of this deck. Like, should I run hand traps? Anything that doesn't contribute to the win condition really always sucks. It's kind of the toxic side effect of hand traps. So the solution to this, people have been pointing out, is for hand traps to not be generic but to be searchable through in-archetype hand traps. Or I guess if they aren't, or I guess they don't need to be searchable because like you need them on your hand on turn 1. So I guess hand traps that are also your starters. Because with non-searchable, non-archetype hand traps like Ash Blossom, who, not to mention with Maxi still running around, like the pest that it is. God damn Arcana Force. I want to play more, but I also gotta do my dailies. I gotta log into Path to Nowhere at least once. I'm pretty sure the fucking Broken Frontline reset. I want to play with Megaliths. Yep, I'll play one more. Is there more variety in decks in Dueling Nexus because there's no limits to the cards you're allowed to use? Or is there no limits? Or is there more variety? Great minds think alike. There you go. Oh sure, it's the world again. Tributing multiple Bantams is pretty slick. Just not very realistic to start off with multiple Bantams. The fuck world Anvil has a fucking YouTube?
First use of the name Brad on record ever. Brad Pitt. No, not that guy. This Brad Pitt was born in 1563 and he was an English landowner and member of parliament. So Brad is a totally historical name. But what if you called a medieval fantasy character? Yeah, that would sound hilarious. Turns out it's pretty common for historically accurate things to sound anachronistic. That is, like they belong to another time period. After all, the Romans had vending machines and the ancient Greeks had pump-operated fire hoses. In fact, this phenomenon actually has a name. It's called the Tiffany problem. The Tiffany problem is a strange quirk where something historically accurate somehow still feels out of place in a historical or fantasy game. Good Night Sir Brad is a good example. The classic example is the name Tiffany. Believe it or not, the name Tiffany was in use as early as the 12th century, but to modern ears it sounds really contemporary. A name you'd hear in a mall, not a medieval. That's because the name was popularized later, so we have cultural associations with it that we can't undo. So even though it's not anachronistic, it still seems like it is. And that is the Tiffany problem in a nutshell. But we're world builders and storytellers, so why do we care about the Tiffany problem? Well, the issue with the Tiffany problem in world building is that you can totally derail your audience, your players and your readers by accident. If you call a hunky paladin Sir Chad, yes there is a Saint Chad in the 7th century, then your players will be laughing their butts off. Or what about place names? Historical locations in the UK include Newport, Hill, Burton Lasers, and Bacon End. And
I'm just gonna go see how this combo works. Anytime the world is included in the strategy, it's always absurdly long. And of course, incredibly prone to hand traps.
The Tiffany problem
Of course, which I have none.
World building setting and tone. So how do you avoid the Tiffany?
Maybe I should
Well, here we
build an actual deck. I've been meaning to build Labyrinth for a while now.
Tip 1.
Just pure
guess your
Labyrinth.
names, and adjust accordingly. Start by saying your names out loud and see how they feel in the context of your world. Might just need a slight tweak or change in spelling.
Or maybe Ubel, the
For
loving
example,
defender
Tiffany sounds
forever.
very modern, but Tefana sounds like a solid medieval fantasy. Might remind us of movie stars, but Duran, aka White Raven, seems suitably Few letters can make all the difference. Tip 2. Could it be portal fantasy? If you've already committed to a name that feels modern, perhaps it's portal fantasy. There's a reason that Chad the Buff stands out in your medieval fantasy world. It might be a clue that people have visited your realm from a contemporary. This could be an interesting twist to your world building and open up possibilities. Tip 3. Mix and match. You can actually leverage the Tiffany problem and make it part of your world building. A single modern name might stand out as strange, but if all the villagers in your world have modern names,
I still wonder, does this count as an
that's
FTK?
intentional world building. And it's
Oh my god, a monster negate. What the fuck?
tip number 4. Lean into it.
This guy's playing 2017 Drytron
Literally has a character
with
called
voiceless
Tiffany,
voice
Young Witch,
and
I'm
the
pretty
world.
sure it's a direct reference to the Tiffany. Instead of shying away from it, Ratchet leans into it, even poking fun at how it seems out of place. This adds humour, but it also deepens the character by highlighting her uniqueness in a world of more traditional witchy names. Of course, he also named one of his witches Miss Tick, as in Mystic. The master of fun was Derek Ratchet.
Yo, Cyber Angel
like
Benton in
Ratchet,
attack
don't be afraid
position
to
for
twist
game.
the name. Use it to add depth and humour to a character, or even plot points for your world building and stories. Tip number 5, trust your instincts. At the end of the day, it's your world. If the name feels right to you, then the chances are you make it work. And once a reader or player has heard it a few times, it will start to feel normal to them, regardless of how outlandish it is. After all, world building is about creating a space your audience can immerse themselves in, but it's also vital to create a setting that supports your stories and your
Literally everything I have is for going second.
or into your names, and whether you lean into your Tiffany problem or work around. And of course, names are just one piece of the world building puzzle. Have fun with them, don't let them slow you. Besides, if award-winning published authors can get away with names like Satan Damon Sadiablo, Dirk Pitt, and
Nice.
don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell for more world building tips. And then, you know what to do. Grab your hammer, go world build, Tiffany's.
Okay, so what if I pass with nothing and try to ruin the combo with? Well, I mean, I'm already committed. Wait, I shouldn't have set Lightning Storm Bluff. Let's just go for the instant damage. Yeah, evenly matched isn't gonna do anything. Bad reaction will stay. No matter what. Assuming I get a turn, which I won't, evenly matched will at best pop to allow me to make sure they only have 2 cards, and 2 cards are really all they need. Even if I were playing Megaliths, the chances of me drawing a single hand trap there are, but from the testing I've done, like every 3 games I open with 1 hand trap. And every other game I open 4 hand traps and 1 non-starter and just die. Because of course I do.
We all remember the best. The Snake Eyes, the Necros, the Tearlament. But the story of Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't written at the top tables.
Was
It's written by
Necros really
Brandon
that
Silverwing,
powerful?
guaranteeing you he's broken Dark Magician.
There were no
Each week,
Megaliths
Norma
at
and I
the
will be
time,
playing
so
one of
the
Yu-Gi-Oh!'s
limit to
most iconic
preparation
Gen
rights didn't
decks. From the
bother me too much. I wouldn't bother me too much, I suppose,
to the playground
if I
foil.
were playing at that time.
Does your favorite bad brew have when you become the king? Welcome to the King of Jank. We're going back to the GOAT Conference, where decks from 2002 until 2008 reigned.
Bro
And today
really
we're
is
playing one of my
running
personal
literally
favorite decks from
every
the
engine
actual
for
GOAT
Ritual.
format, Relinquished. For those of you that are unfamiliar, Pegasus's big bad boss was just that for a really long time. Big and bad. The sell for Relinquished in GOAT is you get to play one of the best searchers in the format, Manju of the 10 hands. But Relinquished itself is pretty good too. The Chaos decks that dominate GOAT have to rankle with one really frustrating problem. While the
They
Dark
know
Monsters
it, they
in the
love it.
format are crazy, there's not really any good
Yep.
light ones.
YouTube, welcome to another episode of
At least I got a turn.
Yank. Here is the deck. It is Big Benkai. Armed Samurai Benkai is a large monster. Well, you make it large. For each card equipped to this, it gains an additional attack during each battle phase. The idea is that the bunch of attack gaining equipped cards onto him, he attacks like 4
Shit,
times.
should I have
and goes
just
up to, like,
activated
4
evenly
plus
matched?
1,000 attack.
Are they still gonna be able to do the world?
Straightforward in its win condition.
No.
Big
Okay.
Benkai. But of course, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! And you have to play 40 cards, which means, you have to fill your deck with other things to get you to the combo in the setup. Playing True Nate to protect against back row, Cross Out for any set guys, Gravity Bind level limit to stop our opponent from playing the game.
This deck's a totally modern invention
Bullshit.
and has been completely superseded since by the existence of Chaos Turbo, a deck that's having to just activate Thunder Dragon for your light requirement. That's why we're playing it on Jank.
Let's hop into this duel and see if we can do some Benkai OTKs.
Let's get sucking. Mr. Farfa, I am so glad that we are all the way back to, 2004? Oh joy. If you thought we were having too much fun in the previous episodes, get ready. It's time for some Set Pass Gaming.
There's some really questionable cards in this list that
And
are going to
ultimately,
make
this is still a
fun game
tier
of Yu-Gi-Oh!
3
I'm
deck
excited
at
for that.
best, just like Megalith. If I ran hand traps, what would that realistically achieve?
Pretending to be someone they're not. Well, yeah, true, but then again, you can't, you're acting. You can't have, Ryan Gosling play, Martin Luther King Jr. I would still watch it. But then... Alright, okay, so we go first here. What do we got?
Again, I really don't want any cards that don't contribute to the win condition of the deck.
We'll do that.
The more meta a deck is, the more they can run
Go for these cards.
non-starter cards like that. It's just the nature of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now.
First draw in my deck, you've got to be kidding me.
Relinquish that garden? Oh, right. Go, silly one. Thunder Dragon.
And that's the extent of my Thunder Dragon. Alright, let's go. Manju of the 10 quadrillion hands.
Remember, failed to one? Why don't you share with the audience what failed to one?
Oh, yeah, so back in the old days in 2000 and up until what, 2015 maybe? Whatever search your deck. How long?
Was it really that long?
It's a long time. But you were permitted to search your deck with cards that searched, and if you didn't find something, rather than it being an activation, fail to find.
Aha! 50.
Magic still has it. I actually like it. I think there's a lot of fun stuff.
I mean, I guess I might as well just get the. Oh. Oh, such iron blacksmith. Uh-oh. Gotta slowly put these pieces together. Really good work on face downs.
It does.
Does.
Yeah, it's a 0-0, but I can't suck. You can suck anything, anywhere. Anyways, this
Let's
is why
play
I thought this
2
strategy.
imperms,
Let's resolve this first now.
a Droll Lock,
So,
and
right
Ash
away.
Blossom.
I wonder what that card is.
Thing in the game, sir.
Alright, let's go for the Gabo.
Maybe I can run a couple more.
It's a pretty good draw, actually.
Walking outside again. Fair.
I have made this to a Tetsu.
Trigger! Keep the best equipment in this deck. It's like Knighted or Knave. They're both at 1. Well, trying to control.
Yeah, this is all I can realistically get away with.
Alright, get in there, Manju.
I guess I don't need
And
to.
even then, it's already hurting so much to have these
Wrong
hand
road.
traps exist.
Wrong decision.
They're not bringing their best. They're bringing 10,000 of their hands. That's 10,000 cards.
Let's play one more.
Oh, we can't put this
And then I'm
away.
playing Genshin.
Alright, fair enough. So then try and see what pieces of the puzzles we've got here. Let's go for graceful charity.
Jesus, I forgot this card is like mega legal for you.
Wait, what? This really slow down, like kind of put together. Like I'm not sure if like the goal is like, oh yeah, just one shot you. Wait till I have all of the correct pieces for that, or if it, just
Maybe Nyx is working properly now.
make you out it. I'll go for the warrior lady here all the time.
Do you want to banish him? Okay.
No, she is not.
But
Oh, okay. I didn't think that, get a turn here. Oh, great news. Oh, that's great news, too. Let's normal summon another Manju. Alright, with your 10,000 hands, we'll grab a piece of 10,000 years old, the Sultan of Suck himself, and we'll send our Sandgan to the graveyard in order to facilitate his gaping hole.
put the other thing in the video, but he's putting all that. Alright, so this one is this stroke so well, or that with color that Alright.
Oh my god, it's not the world guy anymore.
Okay, your passive turn. One card should do it here. Okay.
And of course, I draw no hand traps.
One. We'll go with a giant tornado.
Well, this is a very good hand.
We're gonna let you go back to my hand.
Am I dead?
I don't know if you're dead, but we'll give it a shot.
It's Sangan.
Normal Shokan, Bankai,
Oh my god.
Axon,
Oh my god. Oh Jesus.
It's another going second deck.
No.
Sax!
I'm dead!
Oh no, it's me. Bankai! Bankai! One more. Bankai.
This guy.
That's not backwards.
Hmm. Ichiroku's ledger book is not gonna do anything against them. I remembered.
Alright,
I
brother.
just remembered.
I activate the spell card on a card. You stupid. Alright, I will summon Type Ghost Destroyer. See the last roll? I draw a turn.
I will activate reinforcements of the army.
Yeah.
I will get. Gonna get.
What's taking this guy so long to think? Is this our end board?
Maybe you're thinning the deck with my
Bullshit.
Set of cards and end my turn.
Absolutely.
This is my deck.
It's a good draw. Alright, watch this.
I can just get Dark Lord direct.
Big tomato.
Oh, wow, I'm pretty happy about that. Really want to convince you much more. Let's, Heavy Storm is a
That is before battle phase. Up here. I will. That part. Here, since I have like all the parts already, I like to make a level.
Oh. Gross.
Underbreak. That's a sinister, my man. Oh, it's a drink.
Check this out.
Banish a sister. Excellent.
I summon her again!
I don't know why people so
Are they allowed to reverse around them? No reason, right? There's like a weapon version. They could just reverse it.
I really appreciate it. That's a graveyard I really want to banish here. I just want to get the screws on you. Nah, let's just go combat.
Okay, we will banish the guy here.
Annoying.
I mean, now that I think about it, isn't the best hand trap technically evenly matched?
Here.
For this deck, I should just main deck 3 of those.
It's a card of all time. It's just, I'm just. Yes. Oh.
Alright. Sound kind of.
What's the condos? We have to just kill area at this point.
Oh my god.
That's
Huh.
I already know this isn't gonna do anything because of Sangan summoning.
oh, wait.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't damage.
That's true. Oh, it does.
He triggers on flip! Why? Couldn't tell you.
I'm not gonna let this play out.
Oh, I'm gonna suck you, buddy.
Michael. I think it was one of my first decks. Relinquish like Joey X the starter deck. And I played this, and I think we just decided that Relinquish like just Just a monster you can summon.
Oh,
If you ever played as a kid with the meta of the starter decks, like you will notice like tier 0 is just like Iva. Then like S or A tier is like Joey Yugi. Then like Pegasus is like terrible. I think Pegasus has like one good meter, and that's like it.
here.
Let's try triple tactics. Maybe they'll do a hand trap. I don't
I get
know.
really good play next turn if I like live.
Oh wait, I lost, so I'm the one who chooses. God damn it.
Go ahead.
Alright. I was gonna say, I have a couple of games.
They lost connection. Dang it.
That might actually.
Alright, I'm gonna go do Genshin now.
I cannot suck again, but you know what I can do is graceful cherry. Like,
The one that discarded Manchu. Ah! That's why I need to wait. Wait, what? Oh, I see.
oh yeah, I'm sucking, baby. Potensu, alright, say it with me, Chad. I'm the Vanish. I like it.
You're gonna come PLS versus Sorry.
But you better believe it.
Oh my god. Alright.
Woo! Game 3.
But I had like multiple bad guys and multiple in my hand.
Let's just run some more of our cards that we know we'll want when we're sure we're going second.
Guess we're doing the most. Yeah, this is.
There's so many things that just ignore targeting that Ichiroku is sometimes just really not that good.
Okay.
Doing a little bit of the stare on.
Maybe I should just not bother with Ichiroku.
And let's see what this card is.
I got greedy.
Alright, let's see. I can actually ascertain what's in your hand based on this. Okay, it looks like no bow. Not seeing mage power.
I can actually check the deck. This guy's
I'm not seeing two Benkais. It's two Benkais, Warrior Lady, Mage Power, Gravity Bind. Gravity Bind.
What the fuck? This is bullshit. You're just like obfuscating me right now. Get out of here.
I'm just saying. I'm just doing my own research. I'm just doing my own research.
Give me my deck back.
Maybe you're on the accent to it's like.
I'm gonna keep the recording going.
Accent to spare, Warrior Lady, Mage Power. So I can die at any time. You can't beat that.
Oh, I can check yours.
Oh, why does he get to take mine?
Well, we both gotta make sure that your deck either. Okay, so you don't have any power. Then maybe. Oh, you got Dust, 2 Relinquished, an Illusion Ritual, and be a third. I do or not? Oh my god. Oh, this is so nasty. Okay, alright.
I will say, I think the BLS is started by the hand who got right there.
Oh. The thing is, I don't know like the exact ratios.
It's crap. Expected this.
And I'll fall back.
I want you so bad. monster.
That's the table cards. Us, maybe.
Now, let me open up my tarot
Get a normal summon that guy.
Jesus Christ.
again in a while. Look at them, they're so nice and big.
Am I dead?
Oh, I should renew my subscription to Genshin Impact.
Please. Eddie. What's wrong?
I guess we alive on this one.
Yeah. Holy.
Forgot these are kind of hard to riffle shuffle.
Let's try this.
Have you ever kept goldfish as pets? They're very cute.
Oh, okay.
I'll get there, buddy, if I get there.
I need to find time to send those sorry relics for appraisal.
If we've got nothing else to do, why don't I tell you a story?
Indian life.
I'd love to get some sleeves for my tarot so they're easier to shuffle and a lot safer.
Time to send those sorry relics for
It seems the box this thing came with is starting to tear up. Yeah,
You don't mind, baby.
at the very least, a nice box to store them would be nice.
Oh, I'm fucking with this one.
Just clear the villains.
My part.
Kailan tayo next makakapag-grocery, nanay?
I need to find time to send those saurian relics for appraisal.
Oh. Dare? If I dare disturb the universe, I think I do.
Gusto ka sana magpagupit din ng bahok.
Have you ever kept goldfish as pets? They're very cute.
Oh! Okay. Oh, wow. It's much better. Holy moly. That's so much better. It's better.
I need to find time to send those saurian relics for appraisal.
The biggest one in history.
Fireworks are for now, but friends are forever.
I need to find time to send those saurian relics for appraisal.
The biggest one in history.
Oh.
Let's do a basic free card draw.
Time to send those saurian relics for appraisal.
And of course, 2 upside downs and 1 face up. And of course, it's the lovers.
Have you ever kept goldfish as pets? They're very cute.
You're trying to set up.
Nice and spicy. Extract. Let's light it up. Fuse the plate.
Suitcase and right. You don't feel we're on it anymore. Okay. Sure thing.
Add Astra. Add Astra. Thank you for complete.
I should have completed this commission first. Daily commissions don't increase your thingy for completing them. So if there's a commission you know you're gonna do, you better complete it first. How annoying. I'll get it right this time.
Okay. Oh.
Brush. Horn. Towel. I think all games, right? How many summons? Hey, why is there no animation? And relinquished attack! Get... Alright. This game is... Yeah, they don't increase. Dang it. I'm such an idiot.
It's a combo deck. It's a combo. These dog ass cards in go.
Who are we meeting up with here? Ayaka, most likely. I'm fucking betting. If I were a betting man. In fact, I am a betting man. Well, fuck me. Kazuha works too. In fact, that was actually my second guess. Actually, it was my first guess, but I was like, knowing Genshin, it's gonna have to be a girl. God dang it. I was technically right. It's just I chose not to go with my gut. And of course, no one's gonna believe me, and they'd be right to not believe me. Uh, Speaking of unbelievable, how is that relaxed? Need a claymore. God. Are they expecting me to bring Beidou or something? Do I have Beidou in a team? Ah. Yeah, let's play with Kaching. Ooh, exact 17 o'clock. Lovely.
If you ever want to trade tack.
Back when we were a kid, there was this family member we had. In fact, I'm pretty sure we did it to everyone. Of course, that included myself whenever I did it. Sometimes there would be like a moment where we gotta predict something or other like that. And then someone would say, "I knew that that was what would happen." And then they were like, "Did you really? You never said it until it finally happened." It's a little mean-spirited. Wow. Wow. Oh, nice. A free sanctifying elixir. I already watched this.
Okay, so Banix. Did you make a little bit of an oopsie? Throw up a card in your game? Maybe you have a card that makes games just last forever. Maybe you have a card in your game that is just really annoying to play against and is super strong. Maybe you printed a card that lets you just draw your whole deck. Or maybe you printed a card that just overwrites the fundamental rules of your game. It's time to give them a ban. The bans are generally considered to be pretty bad. Take a card and you ban it, and immediately the price will drop by a significant amount. On decks that could have used that card earlier are going to be killed off. Players are going to quit the game because the decks they have or the cards they have no longer have value to them. But sometimes you really just gotta ban something. Maybe you print a card that just completely uproots your whole metagame, warping the entire metagame around that one card until every single deck has to think about that card. Old decks that used to see play because that card wasn't in existence now can no longer be played because the deck is simply too strong. Players are going to quit your game because their cards that they used to have all drop in price and are once again no longer able to be played. Or maybe you have a card that simply makes playing with it absolutely miserable. Playing with it, playing against it, a powerful card that does this will definitely make players want to quit your game because playing with that deck or against that deck makes them just not want to play the game altogether. Pretty bad. But handling bans is something that has to be done very delicately. Magic the Gathering is a game that I think handles bans in a pretty straightforward way. Basically how you think that you would ban if you were to come to card gaming for the first time is if a card is too strong, you gotta ban it. Makes too much mana, does too much for the cost, you gotta get rid of that card. Maybe the card has a really toxic play pattern that just overwrites the game itself, you gotta ban it. Maybe destroying your opponent's entire chance of winning on turn 1 is a little bit too toxic to play against. Maybe you have a card that just cheats mana by way too much. You play a card down, and this card just
They
gives
give
you
us
way
so much
mana
more
than
of
any
this
other card
now.
in the game was absolutely free, no cost at all.
Considering there's the battle pass thing
But Magic
for
lets the
leveling
ban
up
thing generally
artifacts.
slow. There's a lot of cards in the game that could have been banned, but took a long time to get banned because Magic wants to see what happens with the card over
It's
time
pretty
and whether or
nice,
not
I
the metagame is to
suppose.
adjust. So we got cards like Soul Ring here and the One Ring. Maybe Magic just has a thing for rings, I don't know, but these are two cards that a lot of people are talking about that think they should be banned, but haven't been banned because Magic either want to look at them and see if they deserve to get banned, or maybe Magic just has a thing for rings and they really don't want to ban rings because rings are pretty cool. Now, Hearthstone does nerfing instead of banning because Hearthstone's a digital card game, meaning they can nerf all the cards in your collection as opposed to having to re-release eroded cards, which basically treat differently than cards you currently own. This keeps cards playable, but also balances them in a way where they won't be as powerful as they would be before. A really smart way about going about things, and a thing that other card games would love to have if they were fully playable as well. Your card like Prince Renafall that originally gave you 40 health and a 40 deck size. This card was nerfed to give you 35 health. That was still playable. It will be the exact same thing. Just start with 5 less health at the beginning of the game. A fatal nerf for a powerful card. Also, Hearthstone tends to
Here comes another.
Barbados.
Practice on the side. Speed of light with sword from shadow.
Eyes on me!
Speed of light. Nowhere to hide.
So nerfing did definitely help the decks and the metagame a bit weaker, but still left the card really sour in a lot of players' minds. Pokemon bans. Pokemon doesn't like that many bans. There's no ban in the static menu for Pokemon right now, which is a bit insane to think about. Big mistakes that happen to Pokemon cards are actually relatively rare. There's not that many. The cards like Lysandre's Trump card or Force of Giant Plants, and if you read these two cards, don't look that much like.
Alright, let's finish this pass.
One line of text, and while that line of text does overwrite one of them, look at Force of Giant Plants though.
I swear by my sword.
Axe text. Force of Giant Plants.
Cut to the chase. Speed of light.
So what are you doing here?
Nowhere to hide. To ashes. Speed of light with sword from shadow. Incoming. Wind, hear me. Speed of light. Hey!
Very rare. Almost happened without all of you. Copies, 2 copies, for 1 copy, no copies at all. Then, so you take a card like Pop with your own piece of advantage. Copies of the card. Now, take that card, bring it down, 1 copy of that card to the deck. Now you might ask, why do they do this if you think the card's a problem? You should probably just ban the card altogether.
God damn it, this leyline monolith sucks.
Lowers consistency, of course. You can only have 1 copy of the card. One card now. Even in those other cards, insert that specific card.
Speed of light.
Have less than general.
Nowhere to hide.
Access to all the cards.
Eyes on me.
Or you can watch all the cards. You can't use it. That's not a small card. Also,
Incoming.
for all the cards decks that because of the brain.
Cut to the chase.
Just like we rehearsed.
I swear by my sword. Power that ended Python! Speed of light! Incoming! With sword from shadow!
Good show. Has so many mechanics that every other card can combine. Well, maybe bannings aren't such a bad thing after all. When I look at it, there was a time when banning cards used to be like a weird thing that would happen very rarely, exceptionally, but still. I was like, Jason,
Prepare yourself!
first time a card got banned, working card
Eyes on me! Speed of light! Hey!
Entire format after them. And then defining effects that you get an error out of this kind of card, similar to how Jason's iconic Dragon Rolls are iconic for the same reason of getting banned. Cards like Matches and another super iconic example of arsenal of a card that everybody knows because the card got banned, even its voice line changed, which is really iconic and makes a lot of sense for why this card will be remembered all these years later because of the fact that it ended up getting banned. I want to go back to this time, which I would love to, where cards get big medical effect. Remember, medical is basically cards that were banned or enforced after a while, in the now. So many of the metagames that I play nowadays, I feel like the cards
Barbados,
that when that card is right from the I was excited to demand that happened after the card was banned. Plus the stability.
Cut to the chase! Got lucky that time!
But the release valve if deploying as an emergency to remove a card that's an issue, you have to
Dang it, everything is going against Kaching right now.
It's one outlier, so that would that outlier. The metagame can adjust and adapt based on the fact that that card is no longer there. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe. I'm close to 5K subscribers, and I would really love to get there.
Yeah, let's go do a domain.
Makes my numbers go up on the page. I really enjoy when the numbers go up on the page.
Every single game, so that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. For example, if Toy Bonnie enters the vent, yeah, he's never leaving. However, unlike my other challenges, to deal with these electronics, we're going to need every bit of technical knowledge that we have, so glitches and game breaking strategies are on the table. So long as they don't use any external programs to hold the game, it seems like C++ and fail for obvious reasons. As we're allowing cheese strats, I'm going to give each game a rating once we're done with it. And that's what is ranked as a green possible, possible about any cheese strats that can be done 100% legit. The game is ranked as low as possible. Some form of cheese with glitches is required to get given the worst possible luck. And if a game is ranked as impossible, everything strategies didn't work. The RNG was just too strong. Any cheese.
Okay, these guys have fucking permanent pyro on them, so I can't quicken.
All these unlockless versions of the first three FNAF games.
Nowhere to hide! Don't blink!
I'm going to assume you have a basic understanding of movement opportunities and intervals if you click on this video, but if not, here's like a 20-second explanation. In FNAF games, every animatronic usually has a set time interval. Every interval, the game will generate a random number between 1 and 20 for that animatronic. If this number is less than or equal to their AI level, they will move, attack, or progress depending on who it is or what game we're in. Basically, every interval, animatronics have an AI 20 chance to act. Now with that basic explanation out of the way, we can get into our changes in FNAF 1. In FNAF 1, the biggest luck factor is Foxy, so that was the first thing that we changed. When you view the cameras in FNAF 1, and this doesn't need to be Foxy's camera, just any camera, Foxy is guaranteed to fail all movement opportunities from a random number between 50 frames and 1049 frames. So, when you quickly pull the cameras and put them back down, Foxy cannot move until his stall timer is up, and he has a successful movement opportunity on his standard interval of 5.02 seconds. So, in our version of FNAF 1, Foxy will always roll 50 frames, meaning he's only stalled for 0.83 seconds once the cameras are pulled down. When Foxy hits the door, he randomly starts back in Pirate's Cove in stage 0 or 1. So in our version, he always starts with stage 1. Bonnie and Chica also have some changes.
Gotcha. Game's up. Fun's over. Busted.
However, there is still RNG in that path. Here are Bonnie and Chica's movement trees.
Strike is one.
When an arrow is pointed, Bonnie and Chica don't want to give it an opportunity. With all these paths and sharing chance. For example, if one is 5, there's an equal chance to get you or can 2A. So in our version of Bonnie and Chica will always take the best possible routes from all these doors. However, if they always do the scripted path, be able to predict exactly where they pull doors every single time with the timer. So when Bonnie reaches the hall corner, he has a 1/2 chance to go to the door and a 1/2 chance to go to the closet. And when Chica reaches the hall corner, she has a 1/2 chance to go to the door and a 1/2 chance to go to the east hall. Lastly, Freddy will always give you the shortest blackout possible, which ranges from 7 seconds to 12 seconds depending on when you black out.
Gotcha. Here comes the catch. Busted. Strike a leg and step. I am cutting edge of fashion. Lend me a hand. Leave it up to me, as a good knight should.
Hours legitimately request to resort to our kind of RNG. In order to stand a chance against these animatronics, the Norris use the interval timer made by Shooter 25. This timer is used in green class, where will attempt to save as much power as possible.
Quietly now.
And
Let's
max
go.
mode. The blue number on the top left represents Bonnie's intervals. The number on the top right represents Chica's intervals. And this purple number right here represents Foxy's intervals. This big white number is the length for the entire night. Each of these numbers are scaled such that 1,000 is always equal to 1 full interval. So I'll just call these numbers units. Once any of these numbers hit 0, the given animatronic will move, as their movement equation is always true. But what we care about the most is Foxy's timer. Because Foxy is always as unlucky as possible, his stall time is virtually non-existent. So we have to rely on his standard interval in order to keep him at bay, which is roughly 5.02 seconds. This means that we'll have to have the cameras open on every single Foxy interval. The best way to do this is to pull up the cameras when Foxy's timer reaches 200, and drop it when it reaches 850. For our standard strategy, we'll be going with the modern FNAF 1 420 strat. But instead of pulling up the cameras and checking the lights on an alternating cycle, we'll check both lights and then pull up the cameras to catch Foxy's interval. It's extremely important that your camera never leaves Cam 4B the entire night. Not only because it stalls Freddy, but also because checking Foxy at any point during the entire night will pause his interval timer, desyncing you with the video for the interval timer. So, not only is Foxy's stall timer super strict, but we also can't check which stage he's in throughout the night. While Foxy is the most difficult part of this night on paper, it isn't actually what makes this night so challenging. What makes this so difficult is the extremely slight differences in interval timers. For some reason, and this is only in FNAF 1, Scott decided to make every animatronic
Gotcha. Game's up. Fun's
in
over.
every other FNAF.
Your grand finale. Observe. Time to clean up.
Causes tons of
I'll catch up.
problems. Maybe he knew that the Bones 5 YouTube channel on YouTube would try to beat this game with the worst luck possible. Like 10 years later, who knows, man. Here's what I mean. Take a look at the interval timer roughly around 1 AM. Everything seems roughly synced up. Remember that once Foxy's interval crosses over, we have to check both doors to deal with Bonnie and Chica before Foxy's next interval. By the time Foxy's interval crosses over at 1 AM, we still have enough time to deal with Bonnie and Chica, roughly 800 units. But these FNAF 1 nights are long, and after a while, the 0.04 and 0.05 second differences between Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy begin to add up. So now, fast forward to roughly 3 to 4 AM.
I'll
At this
catch up.
point, you're barely getting any time to check Bonnie and Chica, and if they both happen to be at your doors, it's game over. You'll have to start closing the door and reopening it before you even check Foxy, but even then, it still isn't fast enough. Not to mention, you have to be on perfect power pace, as you only have a 12-second power outage sequence at best. And with needing to be on the cameras for much longer to make sure you're over Foxy's intervals, this becomes a lot harder. Missing a single light check or not opening a door instantly will cause you to go off pace. In roughly 7 hours of breaking my neck to attempt this, I wasn't able to complete FNAF 1 with the worst possible luck. However, it may be possible with no cheese. Just extremely difficult. I'll be putting the link to this version of FNAF 1 in the description along with the interval timer. Anyone would like to attempt this challenge for themselves and prove that it is in fact possible, that's great and I'd love to see it. But from my personal experience, the power and desync on later hours just wasn't enough and I couldn't do it. As far as cheese strats go, FNAF 1 has multiple that we can use. We could go with the 1 FPS strat, but that's lame, so I chose to go with the Foxy glitch. I think it's a bit more fitting, as Foxy has definitely caused us the most pain this time around. I've explained this glitch in detail before on other videos, so I'll just give a brief explanation here. Basically, when you open a door in FNAF 1, right as Foxy gets to the door, he's gonna wait right outside the door until it's fully open, then enter and jump scare you. So, for the 12 frames of the doors in this opening animation, Foxy is at the door, but he's not jump scaring you. During these 12 frames, you can turn on the light, which has a 20% chance to flicker every single frame. When this flicker happens, the entire sprite for the office resets, which deletes Foxy's sprite and makes the rest of the night completely free. So, for FNAF 1's unluckiest max mode, I'm giving it a possible with cheats. Now, that was a bit of a boring conclusion. However, for our next game, which is considered by a lot of players to be the most RNG-based FNAF game, it really could not be any more different. For FNAF 2, there were a multitude of luck factors that we had to change in order to make it as unlucky as possible 100% of the time. The first big change is with Foxy. Normally on 1020 mode, Foxy is one of the biggest threats the player has to worry about. His jump scare is defined by this equation, with this D variable representing the amount of seconds he's gone without the flashlight in his eyes. But what we're interested in is this random 0 to 4 right here. This part of the equation determines how much leeway you have with Foxy when using the flashlight. So, in our version of FNAF 2, Foxy will always roll a 0 in this equation, giving you 4 seconds maximum to go without flashing Foxy. The reason this is 4 seconds and not 1 second is because of Foxy's AI cap at 17 AI. In this mod, we only alter RNG that's possible within the confines of the vanilla game. So, removing the RNG cap for someone like Toy Bonnie, which makes it
Quietly now. Here comes the
timers
cat.
possible in vanilla FNAF 2. So, his AI cap stays at 17. Toy Bonnie is usually the other threat that we can talk about when playing 1020 mode. Normally, once Toy Bonnie enters your vent, he has a 1/2 chance to leave the vent every 0.5 seconds if the mask is on. Because this is a 1/2 chance, we've modded Toy Bonnie to never leave the vent. So, once he's there,
Gotcha.
the toy and Wiki were trying to tell their AI caps removed. So now, everyone will
I must
succeed
leave no
in
stone
several
unturned.
opportunities. If the medical is in the office, she will attack given her first chance when the cameras are up. Golden Freddy will also appear on every single camera drop if you happen to have the cameras up on a 5-second interval. Every single vent animatronic, with the exception of Toy Bonnie, will usually have a 1 in 10 chance to leave the vent every second. Then, they are guaranteed to leave the vent after 5 full seconds with the mask on. In our version, this 1 in 10 chance does not exist, and vent animatronics will only leave after the full 5 seconds. Lastly, the puppet will succeed every single movement once the music box runs out. Normally, the puppet will roll a 1 in 4 chance to stay in the box for an additional second after the music box runs out. So, with our mod, she will instantly leave every time. So, with all of these changes, how can we possibly stand a chance at this 1020 mode? My first thought was to see if the current best 1020 strategy in the meta would work. For those who don't know, the most consistent and humanly viable level 10-20 strat at the moment is great in strategy. This strategy relies on how Golden Freddy spawns work. Basically, if you never have the cameras open on 5-second intervals, Golden Freddy can never spawn. So you can flash through blackouts and wind for 9 full ticks on every single music box cycle. In addition, Toy Bonnie entering the event will always be set on a counter of 200 frames or